Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Hub, calling all the die-hard tennis fanatics, holding it down in the Philippines, and every single passionate supporter tuning in from around the globe. Stop scrolling and pay attention, because we are interrupting the regular flow to drop a massive breaking update coming straight out of the Middle East. A development that is sending serious shockwaves through the tennis community and rattling the cages of the Alexandra Eala fan base. The wait is finally over. The official brackets have dropped, the ink is dry, and the draws are out there for the whole world to scrutinize. It is officially go time in Doha for the Qatar TotalEnergies Open, a tournament known as one of the most punishing, grueling, and prestigious hardcourt battlegrounds on the entire Women's Tennis Association calendar, and the roadmap has been unveiled. But listen closely, because for our golden girl, currently sitting pretty as the world number 45, Alexandra Eala, this news is heavy. It is complicated, and the intensity just dialed up to 11. I am not going to sugarcoat it. The situation is incredibly dramatic, and to be brutally honest, this opening round draw borders on being the stuff of nightmares. If you were crossing your fingers hoping she would get a gentle warm-up match, or a simple buena mano to find her groove in the desert heat, you need to wipe that thought from your mind immediately. It feels like the tennis gods got together and conspired to hand Alex a challenge that goes way deeper than just trading forehands and backhands from the baseline. They have not just given her an opponent to play against. They have dug up a veritable ghost from her recent past and thrown it right in her face. They have placed the one specific nationality, the singular player profile that has been absolute kryptonite for her professional career, right in her path, and the headline is monstrous. It is officially locked in Alexandra Eala versus Tereza Valentová. And for the casual fans out there, you might be scratching your head asking, who on earth is Tereza Valentová? Why have we titled this update, Identify the Adversary? Why is the air in Qatar so thick with tension? Let me break it down for you, because this is miles away from a standard first-round match. This is a direct collision with a personal demon, a scenario we are calling checkmate, because the stakes literally could not get any higher for her ranking. For those of you who have been riding with Eala since her meteoric rise through the ITF trenches, watching her graduate to the WTA 250s, and now seeing her battle in the big leagues of the WTA 1000s, you know the painful stats. You are painfully aware of that one specific number that keeps analysts and superfans awake at night. That number is a big fat 0. Throughout her entire pro tenure, Alex Eala has struggled immensely to secure a single victory against opponents from the Czech Republic. It is the dreaded Czech jinx. We have watched with heavy hearts as she took tough losses against stars like Marie Buskova, and we have seen her run out of answers against the crafty veteran Katerina Siniakova. We have witnessed that raw power, that surgical precision, and that robotic, unyielding efficiency that Czech players are famous for dismantling Eala's game over and over again. And now for her buena mano. Her opening hand in Qatar, she draws none other than Tereza Valentová to kick off her campaign in the desert. Why is this specific matchup so alarming? Because Valentová is not just a random name pulled from a hat. She is the exact same woman who absolutely crushed Eala in Osaka just a few months back. We are talking about a brutal 6-1, 6-2 demolition job in Japan that left the entire fan base completely speechless. That was a match where Eala could not find her footing, could not find her range, and was simply blasted off the court by the heavy artillery coming from the Czech teenager's racket. So the panic in Qatar is not just about who she is playing, but the severity of the test. Remember, Eala is defending a career-high ranking of number 45 in the world. She is climbing the ladder, she is hungry for glory, and she is coming off a gritty 3-set heartbreaker against Ekaterina Alexandrova in Abu Dhabi. She desperately needs a win to build some momentum, but instead of drawing a lucky loser or a qualifier ranked outside the top 150, she gets a shark like Valentová. She gets a player who already owns the blueprint on how to beat her. Someone with a massive psychological edge who looks across the net and sees a guaranteed win because she has done it flawlessly before. But here is the major twist, and this is why we are all here right now. This is not a funeral procession for Eala's tournament hopes. This is the ultimate moment of truth. If Alex Eala wants to crack the top 30 and be a real threat at the Grand Slams in 2026, she has to shatter this curse right here, right now. She has to solve the Czech puzzle once and for all. And in this broadcast, we are flipping the script and approaching this differently. We are not just reading you the headlines. We are going to systematically identify, deconstruct, and analyze the Czech adversary. We are going deep into the profile of Tereza Valentová. Who is she really, where did she come from, and why is her style so historically lethal against Alex? We will break down the granular statistics from that nightmare encounter in Osaka to see exactly where the wheels fell off. We will analyze the specific wind conditions in Doha and figure out if the desert environment helps or hurts Eala's heavy lefty spin, and we are going to answer the million-dollar question. Is the Buena Mano actually on our side this time? Can the pride of the Philippines finally smash through that Czech wall in the middle of the Arabian desert? Strap yourselves in, ladies and gentlemen, because while the temperature is rising in Doha, the real fire is about to ignite on the court, and we are doing a deep dive investigation. This is the kind of high-octane detailed analysis you simply will not find on any other channel, so let's get straight into the nitty-gritty. To truly grasp the gravity of this showdown, we cannot just look at the names on the digital scoreboard. We have to understand the full context. We have to peel back the layers of history, the biomechanics, and the psychology that are all colliding on this single tennis court in Qatar. Doha is not just another tour stop. It is a beast of a venue, and the Khalifa International Tennis and Squash Complex is famous for some very specific quirks. First off, let's talk about the surface. It is a hard court, sure, but it plays arguably slower than the Australian Open, while still being faster than the gritty courts at Indian Wells. It sits in that unique middle ground that heavily rewards aggressive baseliners who have the patience and the lungs to tolerate long, punishing rallies. But the real X factor in Doha is always the wind. If you have watched any tennis in this region over the last decade, you know the wind swirls like crazy. It comes rushing off the Persian Gulf, whips aggressively around the stadium architecture, and wreaks absolute havoc with the ball toss on the serve. For a player like Alexandra Eala, who relies heavily on that high-kicking lefty serve to open up the court angles, the wind is both her best friend and her worst enemy. It can exaggerate her spin, making the ball jump violently away from a right-hander, but it can just as easily destroy her timing and rhythm if she isn't careful. Let's cut straight to the headline act for today's tennis breakdown. We are calling this segment the Czech Mate Ultimatum, and we need to unpack exactly what this signifies for our rising star. When you take a hard look at the live WTA standings for the 2026 season, the gap is razor thin. Alexandra Eala has ascended to a career-best world ranking of 45, but looming large in her rearview mirror is a familiar nightmare. While they might be shoulder-to-shoulder on the official leaderboard, anyone who knows the tour knows that current digits are just vanity metrics. Momentum is the cold, hard cash that actually matters. Tereza Valentová cannot be dismissed as just another name in the draw. She is effectively the newest, deadliest prototype rolling off the assembly line of the Czech golden generation. You have to respect the DNA she is working with. We are talking about tennis royalty here. A bloodline that starts with the legendary Martina Navratilova and cascades down through heavy hitters like Petra Kvitova, Karolina Pliskova, Barbora Krejcikova, and Markéta Vondrousová. The Czech Republic isn't just a nation. It is a manufacturing plant for elite talent. It is a perfectly tuned engine that churns out Grand Slam contenders with the rhythmic consistency of a metronome. So, what is the secret sauce? What is the genetic fingerprint of this dynasty? It is characterized by pure, unadulterated velocity, clean and flat. They do not subscribe to the heavy, grinding topspin religion of the Spanish clay courts, nor do they play the scrappy defensive retrieval game seen in American hardcourt academics. No, the Czech philosophy is to blast the ball through the court with devastating flat power. Valentová is the textbook definition of this style, but she adds a terrifying modern twist. Born in 2007, she is actually the junior in this matchup, a genuine teenager who has stormed onto the professional circuit with a skill set that looks alarmingly seasoned and bulletproof. She crashed the party wielding a two-handed backhand that functions like a heat-seeking missile, absolute precision, zero hesitation. We really need to roll the footage back to their clash in Osaka, that one-sided affair where she dismantled Eala 6-1, 6-2. The statistic that jumped off the screen was the cross-court diagonal. Remember, Eala is a southpaw. Under normal circumstances, her bread and butter is that lefty forehand whipping cross-court into a right-hander's backhand corner. Against 90% of the locker room, that pattern is money in the bank. She typically pulls rivals off the court until they break, but Valentová, she is built differently. She does not crack. Her backhand acts as both an iron wall and a dagger. In that Japanese showdown, every single time Eala tried to ramp up the RPMs on her heavy forehand, Valentová simply stepped inside the baseline, took the ball on the rise and redirected it down the line with interest. That tactical adjustment completely defanged Eala. effectively stripping her of her primary weapon and leaving her gun-shy. It was like watching a heavyweight throw their best Sunday punch only to have the opponent walk right through it without blinking. It causes panic, and that mental collapse is exactly why the scoreboard looked so ugly. There is a concept in Filipino culture known as buena mano. It signifies that your first transaction of the day dictates your luck for everything that follows. In the cutthroat ecosystem of the WTA, the first round is the most dangerous territory for any seeded talent. Your eyes haven't quite dialed into the stadium lighting yet. You haven't calibrated your footwork to the specific speed of the surface under match pressure. For Eala, pulling a nightmare card like Valentová for her buena mano match is practically the worst-case scenario. Familiarity is a tricky beast. It sharpens the sword of the winner while dulling the shield of the loser. When they step onto the hard courts in Doha, Valentová is going to carry herself with the swagger of a landlord coming to collect rent, thinking, "I own this real estate. I crushed her during the Asian swing and I'll do it again." All she has to do is hit play on the same strategy. Eala, on the other hand, has to fight against what performance coaches call the negative feedback loop. This negative tape is essentially a high-definition replay of the previous trauma spinning endlessly in the athlete's subconscious. Every time she sees Valentová winding up for that backhand drive, Eala's instincts are going to scream a warning from Osaka. Red alert. Do not go there. She will destroy it. That microsecond of doubt leads to unforced errors. It forces you to retreat into a defensive shell, and against a Czech ball basher playing passive is essentially signing your own death warrant. We have to address the elephant in the room here, the Czech curse. Why does Alexandra seem to hit a brick wall whenever she faces a passport from this specific region? It isn't voodoo. It comes down to cold hard physics. Eala is a graduate of the Rafa Nadal Academy, which means her foundational DNA is constructed on Spanish clay court principles. She is built for heavy revolutions on the ball, high net clearance marathon endurance, and grinding opponents into dust. That blueprint works wonders against American counterpunchers, or the French flair, or the gritty Australians. But Czech players, they are pure, flat ball strikers. They fire flat projectiles. A flat ball skids through the court and stays incredibly low. Eala's extreme Western grip demands the ball sit up in her strike zone to generate power. When a Czech opponent rifles a laser that skims the baseline, Eala is forced to dig the ball out defensively, shoveling it upwards. She cannot dictate play from that defensive crouch. She ends up constantly reacting, pushed onto her back foot. We saw this exact script play out in her losses to Marie Buzkova and Katarina Siniakova. The Czech style robs her of time. They refuse to let the rally breathe. They look to end the conversation with a 1-2 punch big serve, big winner, or big return, big winner. If Eala wants to survive the desert heat in Doha, she has to fundamentally rewrite her tactical identity. She cannot just play her game, she has to actively dismantle theirs. So, how does the world number 45 shock the system? How does she flip the script? Step 1. She has to value placement over raw speed on the serve. Valentová eats pace for breakfast. If Eala serves flat heat, it's coming back twice as fast. Eala needs to unlock the can opener, that nasty lefty slice out wide on the ad side. She has to curve the ball off the court, forcing Valentová to stretch and move. If she can force the Czech star to hit on the run, the leverage changes. Historically, these power hitters prefer to be stationary turrets, plant the feet and fire. They absolutely hate scrambling. Furthermore, Eala must mess with the strike zone by varying the trajectory. Stop feeding the wheelhouse. She needs to mix in towering, high-bouncing moonballs to push Valentová way behind the baseline and then immediately drop a low-biting slice to drag her forward. The goal is pure discomfort. Make the match messy. Finally, the most important adjustment happens between the ears, the mental reboot. When we talk about a shock result, we are talking about a massive upset potential. The crowds in Qatar love a fighter, and they will get behind whoever shows the most heart. And we know Eala has a spirit that doesn't quit. We witnessed it at the Asian Games. We saw that grit during those brutal ITF title runs. She needs to channel that ferocious Laban Pilipinas energy. She cannot view this as Osaka Part 2. This is a completely new battleground in 2026. Let's look at the cold math here. Eala is defending massive ranking points. A first-round exit now wouldn't just be a loss. It would be a ranking catastrophe. Securing a massive victory right here isn't just about advancing to the next round. It is a major statement against a formidable top 50 rival like Valentová. A win effectively acts as a critical six-pointer in the standings, stopping Valentová from harvesting any more ground while injecting those precious ranking points directly into Alexandra Eala's tally, solidifying her current standing as the world number 45. We are looking at a potential massive swing in the live rankings, a momentum shift that could frankly define the entire season. If Eala can manage to clinch this all-important buena mano victory to kick off the tournament on the right foot, the rest of the draw suddenly cracks wide open for her to make a deep run. The surge of adrenaline and confidence she would inherit from finally slaying this metaphorical Czech dragon would be absolutely immeasurable. It is exactly the kind of breakthrough performance that separates the good from the great, unlocking a completely new elite tier in her overall gameplay. A dominant win would serve as definitive proof to the entire locker room that she can handle these aggressive flat hitters with ease. However, if she falters here, if this shock result turns out to be another negative one, it only serves to reinforce that existing mental block she has been fighting to overcome. A loss would render the next opponent from the Czech Republic even more intimidating, psychologically turning a hill into a mountain. That is precisely why this specific match is so critical. It is about breaking down barriers, not just hitting tennis balls. That is exactly why we are dedicating this entire comprehensive deep dive to this singular event. This is not just another game on the calendar. It is a legitimate career checkpoint for the 2026 season. We have been closely tracking Valentova's movements and preparation leading up to Doha. She has been grinding away at the challenger events, ensuring her competitive rhythm and timing remain at an all-time high before stepping onto the big stage. She is incredibly match-tough right now and is certainly not walking into this arena cold or unprepared. In stark contrast, we have to remember that Eala is looking to bounce back from that frustrating early exit back in Abu Dhabi. So, while Eala has enjoyed significantly more rest and recovery time, Valentová holds the distinct advantage in recent match repetitions. It invokes the classic tennis theory of rust versus rest, and entering this week, Eala is definitely the rested warrior. Valentová, on the other hand, is a well-oiled machine greased up and running at full speed. The statistics typically show that in the opening set the player with recent match experience tends to fly out of the blocks much faster than the one coming off a break. Alex absolutely must survive those first critical 20 minutes of play without falling behind. If she goes down 0-3 early on, the haunting memories of that loss in Osaka will come flooding back, and the match could be effectively over before it really begins. She needs to secure a solid hold of serve early to settle the nerves. She needs to scream, pump her fist, and show Valentová unequivocally that she is not the same girl she steamrolled back in Japan. She needs to assert her dominance immediately and control the tempo of the rallies. The weather forecast for match day in Doha predicts challenging conditions with moderate gusty winds and stifling high humidity coming into play. Consequently, the ball is going to fluff up and feel incredibly heavy coming off the racket strings. Surprisingly, this actually favors Eala's game style if she can manage to extend the rallies and physically grind her opponent down. Those heavier atmospheric conditions make it significantly harder for flat hitters to strike clean, penetrating winners through the court. If Eala can turn this contest into a physical brawl, a true marathon of fitness and grit victory is well within her grasp. Remember, her rigorous training blocks at the Rafa Nadal Academy give her a distinct edge in pure physical fitness. Valentová plays like a sprinter looking for the quick end to the point with high-risk shots. Eala is built like a distance runner, ready to go the distance and outlast the competition. Make her run, make her suffer, and drag her into the deep waters of a third set. That is the path to victory, and the battle lines are officially drawn in the sand. Quite literally, the Qatar Open has presented Alexandra Eala with the ultimate test of character to kick off this campaign. To recap this breaking situation for all our viewers tuning in, the Buena Mano match, the opening challenge for our Filipino champion, is officially set against Tereza Valentová. We are facing the 18-year-old Czech sensation, who holds a dominant 1-0 head-to-head record against Eala, having previously crushed her in straight sets during their meeting in Osaka. This draw is a massive shock to the system because it forces Eala to confront her biggest historical weakness immediately right out of the gate. There are absolutely no warm-up matches to find her groove or get comfortable. There is no easing into the kiddie pool here. She is being thrown straight into the deep end to swim with a shark. But let us remember that history is written by those who defy the odds and break the rules. The so-called Czech jinx is just a statistic until the moment it ceases to exist. Every single streak is destined to end eventually. Even Nadal fell at Roland Garros. Serena Williams lost finals, and one day, rest assured, Alexandra Eala will defeat a Czech powerhouse. So, why not make that day today? Why not let it happen under the bright lights of Doha? We need to send every ounce of our positive energy directly to her corner. Whether you are tuning in from the streets of Manila, from the heart of Cebu, from Dubai, or all the way in California, the collective support of the entire nation matters. Eala reads the comments, and she hears you. She feels that massive wave of encouragement. She knows deep down that she is not just playing for herself on that court, she is playing for the flag and every fan watching back home. We want to hear from you in the comments section right now. This is our Identify the Adversary challenge, and here is the big question of the day. What is your fearless prediction for the final scoreline? Do you truly believe Eala can engineer the upset and take this down in 3 grueling, heart-stopping sets? Or do you fear the Czech power game will be too much to handle once again? And more importantly, do you believe in the power of the buena mano luck? Drop your detailed predictions down below. We will be pinning the most accurate and insightful tactical analysis from our loyal subscribers to the top of the chat. This is destined to be a fascinating battle of conflicting styles. The lefty spin versus the flat strike, the warrior spirit versus the robotic precision, the Philippines versus the Czech Republic. Make sure you are subscribed and have those notifications turned on so you do not miss a single beat of the action as it unfolds. The absolute second this match concludes, we will be right back here with a comprehensive, unfiltered post-match breakdown. Whether it turns out to be a celebration of a historic breakthrough or a tough analysis of what went wrong, we stand with Alex Eala through every win and every loss. The desert storm is gathering on the horizon. The court is prepped. The adversary has been identified. Now it is time to play ball. For the undying love of the game and for the soaring pride of the Philippines, let's go, Alex. I am signing off for now, but keep your eyes glued to the ball. This is tennis news that digs deeper than the rest. Good night, and God bless everyone.